When you look up Bruno Mattei on IMDb, it has a really great part of his biography. And that is, he remains an influential cult film director around the world for his radical filmmaking and willingness to direct pretty much anything with a taboo subject. Yes, 100%. Let's talk about one taboo subject, nunsploitation. 2 movies from Mattei that are nunsploitation. The True Story of the Nun of Moza from 1980 starts us up. Mariana de la Vega e Margarino was born December 4th, 1575 in Milan, Italy. Let's go into some history. While she was from a noble family, there were numerous disputes over money after the death of her mom. At the age of 13, her father forced her to become a nun at the monastery of St. Margaret. Somebody claimed she would receive an inheritance. It never happened. By all accounts, she was a friendly and modest woman, was praised by community members, and even got a letter congratulating her choice to go into the sisterhood from writer and historian Bartolomeo Zucchi. Then things get more scandalous. 1597, while working as a teacher at the convent school for girls, she met Count Giovanni Paolo Osio, who'd been previously accused of murder. It's important to realize just how rich, powerful, and influential the nuns of this time were. Sure, they entered avowed poverty, but the truth was that Marianne was still wealthy, despite never getting the money her mother left her. In addition to teaching, she administered the property revenues and justice in Monza, so she was able to freely move through the society of the elite. Her affair with the Count began with letters, but soon grew physical thanks to the complicity of the other nuns, even the priest Paolo Arrigoni. After 2 children were born to the couple, one stillborn and the other adopted as an illegitimate child by the Count, Virginia went so far as to murder one of the nuns who threatened to expose her. She did this with the full complicity of the other sisters, and the Count also killed the blacksmith who had made keys to the convent for him. However, the governor of Milan eventually arrested Oslo for murder. He escaped and was later killed by a friend, while Archbishop Federico Borromeo ordered a trial of Marianne, whose offense was she had lost her free will due to the diabolical force of lust. After a lengthy trial that even featured torture, she pleaded guilty and was sentenced to be walled in for 13 years into the home of Santa Valeria. She survived this sentence and lived there for nearly 3 decades before she died in 1650. I can't imagine living on after being walled into a place. Like, how do you start to meet other people again? What's it like? The Nun of Monza has been the subject of at least 5 other movies, including Sergio Corbucci's Il Monaco de Monza, but never before by Bruno Mattei, using his alias of Stefan Oblowski and working with a script from our friend Claudia Fracasso. Mattei seems committed to giving those with no attention span, like me, exactly what they come to a nunsploitation movie for. One wonders if these nuns even went to church with all the aardvarkery going on. Zora Korova stars as Sister Virginia de Leyva. You may remember as the tarot card reader in Anthropophagus or the sexual worker in the New York Ripper, or getting hung by hooks in Cannibal Ferox. Her father sent her to be a bride of Christ to remove her from the temptations of this world, but as we soon learn, all those whippings and ecstatic devotions simply lead her to fantasizing that Christ can come off the cross to get her on her knees. Is Bruno Mattei ever subtle? No, he isn't. That's why we love him. That said, she's not alone in this carnal state. The nuns can't stop aggressively cuddling, and even a priest tries to assault our protagonist inside a confessional booth. To make matters even weirder, he is dressed as the devil. Jean-Paul Osio, who is our old count, he's played by Mario Cutini from Plain Motel, another scummy movie, soon falls for Virginia. He's friends with the evil priest and has been shown killing numerous opponents in duels, where they can even get to know each other biblically. Virginia's father dies, making her the new Lady of Monza. This also allows her to become the new Mother Superior, which worries the evil priest and his lover Vendetta, Paolo Montero from Bay of Blood. They set up Virginia by having Osio assault her, but this being a Bruno Mattei movie, she falls in love with him, gives him a child. However, when that baby is stillborn, it is thrown out a window. Bruno Mattei forever. Look, if you're coming to an 80s exploitation cinema movie for even the slightest hint of good taste, especially in Italian, when you're not going to find it, we'll get into his other film, which seems to be obsessed with daring the Catholic Church to come after him. Margarita, lead of Seminity from Adam and Eve versus the Cannibals, threatens to expose this entire sordid mess before she's killed, which brings an Inquisitor, which ends up with their heroine walled into a wall. While this movie is set in the 1600s, still it's got a funky soundtrack. Gianni Marchetti, who scored SS Girls and Emmanuel's Revenge. Their experiences by Paolo Corazzi, who's in SS Experiment Love Camp, SS Camp 5 Women's Hell. Can you get typecast into SS sex movies? Yes, obviously you can. Annie Carol Edel from Almost Human, Franca Stoppi, Iris from D'Amato's Beyond the Darkness, as well as appearances in The Other Hell, Violence in a Women's Prison, and Women's Prison Massacre. Again, forever Bruno Mattei. Mario Novelli, the engineer in A Mock Train, aka Beyond the Door 3, as well as showing up in Eyes Behind the Stars, The Scorpion with Two Tails, and Warriors of the Year 2072. Do I ever leave the house? Sometimes. Despite stealing the horses in love opening from The Beast, it's probably some strange you're going to get from Mattei. I say that, but there's also a baby that gets launched out the window. Nuns whipping each other. Evil priest dressed like the devil. Don't expect a Godard movie. Expect what Bruno Mattei can bring to the table. Speaking of that, 1 year later, he made The Other Hell, a movie that blows my mind that somehow played in theaters in America. It's an Omen cash-in, but Is it really? Get ready for a movie so filled with blasphemy that was shot in the Convento di Santa Priscilla in Rome, which was once owned by Fiat, but is now owned by the Secret Service of Rome. The print that Severin used for this movie was found behind a false wall in a nunnery. Did they have to wall it in just like the nun from the last movie? Probably. I summed this movie up with 3 words. It's not f***ing around. Written by Claudia Fragasso, directed by Bruno Mattei. No punches are pulled in this nunsploitation shockfest. You think the movie Mother was bad? You are by no means ready for this. A baby gets boiled alive, and that's the least shocks in here. If you're Catholic, you're going to have to go to confession after this. Also, it steals the score from Beyond the Darkness that Goblin did. You get a Mother Superior who rants and raves while locked in a basement. A gardener up to no good. What gardener post Young Lady Chatterley 2 is ever up to any good? Possession. A nun bragging about having sex with the devil. So much more. Why are dolls hanging from the ceilings of a convent? No one knows. Between priests being set on fire, a nun's severed head in the sacristy where we go to get communion. This movie is every nightmare I ever had in CCD class when Mother Vicenza yells, the genitals are the door to evil, the vagina, the uterus, the womb, the labyrinth that leads to hell, the devil's tools. You'll either cheer or recoil in horror, depending on not you ever sat through a 5-hour Good Friday Mass. And let me tell you, I did. We had to go to church in Catholic school almost every Friday, and we would be lectured about all the things that Jesus went through. Why am I watching the other hell then? I think God understands. I hope he does, or I'm going to hell. Can the young scientific priest, played by Carlo Di Mejo, stop all this screaming? There's so much. I mean, if you make a nun movie, there needs to be screaming, and I know this podcast is all about screaming. This movie is all about screaming. Can we bring the fear of God back to this convent? Or will an evil cat kill this priest? This movie tested every resolve of how far is too far. That's a way of telling you I loved it. You can get this from Severin. Can you explain it to your family? Can you explain it to your priest? If you run a zine and you're Catholic, you probably shouldn't have me in it. I know someone kicked me out of their magazine once and sent me a Bible. I think it's probably because of this movie. And also Black Magic Rights, a movie that continues to get me in trouble. Why have I not done it on the show yet? I don't know. But anyways, I can talk about Bruno all the time. We can talk about Claudia Fragasso all the time. Check out these movies. They're wild. Anyways, it's BNS about movies. Have a good day.